All right, you all, welcome once again to the Diggie A2 episode 5. First off, I gotta say this. I don't know what's going on out there, but the episode of the channel is blowing up like crazy. I am so blessed and so honored to be a part of something that was a small idea and is touching the hearts all over the United States, all over the world. As of right now, as I'm sitting in front of you all, I think we have around 700 subscribers for the channel. And when I started this on April 15th of 2020, it was like 3 or 4. It's like, you know, me, my mom, my brother, you know what I mean? Like, it blew up like crazy. So I love it. Please continue to subscribe. Tell everybody know about it. If you're a fan of hip hop, whether it's 80s, 90s, 2000s, we want to hear about you. Talk about it in the comments. I will have anybody on the show that wants to, you know, talk about their experiences. But it's been a great ride. I'm having so much fun doing what I do, and I appreciate it every single week with just people that I know, just from friends of mine, whether it's military vets or just friends of mine that I know from back in the days. It's been an awesome, awesome experience, man. So this week, we got a new guest, but we got an old guest. So I'm going to pass it to the microphone to my man AJ real quick. And AJ, if you could introduce our special guest and tell the world again about yourself one more time and when you fell in love with hip hop, because we saw you a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was here a couple weeks ago on the Run DMC show, and you know, just quick intro of me, military vet, just like a lot of people on the show, which is great. Embedded hip hop with me since the 80s. It's just stayed in my soul, and it's the music I grew up to, and so on and so forth. His special guest today, we met in Korea, stationed in Korea, and put rank aside. I was a little bit higher on the NCO ranks, and he was probably fresh out of basic in AIT. And one day we just kicked it over his office area, and somehow I brought up 1200s, and we just started talking DJ stuff and hip hop stuff. We put the rank aside, and we just talked real stuff. And one thing I could say that he introduced me to on DJing, from what I've heard of it and everything, but he actually experienced it, was using the Serato and Rain stuff, you know, the digital DJing, and how it affiliates with actual vinyl and stuff like that. So that is something, your guest, he goes by DJ I.E or Ivan. He showed me that, and ever since then, we just been really close on the whole hip hop level and so on and so forth. So that's, with that being said, I pass the mic.
Yeah, thanks. I remember us being in Korea about 07, chopping it up. But I'm DJ I.E, Ivan English, and I'm a big, huge fan, hip hop head since I was 7, 6, 7, 8 years old. I'm from Jersey. I grew up in a military family, so I was living in Jersey at McGuire Air Force Base. And before then, we were stationed in Buffalo, New York. So everywhere I went around that time, and like when I was about 84, 85, 86, everybody around me was mesmerized by hip hop. And I just remember with the boxes, people outside, and you know, just listening to the older kids, what they were playing, and just be like, what was that? And then being in the part of Jersey that I grew up in, I was really blessed because I was right between Philadelphia and I was right between New York City. So I caught both of the radio waves. And in Philly, it was the Street Beat, Power 99 FM Lady B, and she had an L show. And Philly, I rocked with a lot more because that station came in clear. NYC, I catch it on like a regular. I mean, you know, once in a blue. But I remember Lady B, she used to play these ill joints, and she had Tap Money, Cash Money, Spin Bad, the illest in Philly, like killing it, chopping it up. Like the skills were impeccable. So that's another element that I fell in love with, you know, DJing and hip hop. But and I would record every single weekend. and I would wake up and like in the middle of the mix, flip it over and go back to sleep. And I did that all the time because this was during the time when it was like, you know, less rap, more R&B. So they just played rap on the radio for like an hour, 2 hours during the, you know, middle of the night. So that was pretty much the era of hip hop that I grew up in. And it was kind of different from now because, you know, my parents didn't know nothing about the hip hop. They was on Temptation, Spinners, Parliament, and they had no respect. Like the parents, it was like, what is this? It's not gonna last. It's a fad. But you know, my generation, we was in it. We knew it was something. And the message that they were putting out, the lyrics that they were putting out, the beats, it was just something incredible that we all, you know what I mean, fell in love with and whatnot. So I'm here with vets right here. So you know what I mean, I'm blessed to be surrounded by people that have the same interest and love for hip hop as me. So, you know, thank you for having me on the show.
I appreciate it, my dude, and I appreciate your service to our great nation, to you and AJ both, man. So the featured we're going to be talking about today is Mr. Antonio Hardy, aka Big Daddy Kane, one of the best lyrically gifted MCs in the history of hip hop. So what I'm gonna do real quickly is go over the tail of the tape, kind of give you some accolades, a little bit of history, and then we're gonna jump into this particular artist for this week. So with Big Daddy Kane, he's a one-time Grammy winner. He in 2005 was honored at the VH1 Hip Hop Honors Awards for Lifetime Achievement. His Long Live the Kane is one of the 45 albums. I talk about this all the time about the Source magazine. So holla at me, Source magazine. Give me some props because I've been reading that magazine for years. And go back to what me and Ivan and AJ were talking about. Before all this digital stuff, there was magazine. That's all we had, was magazine. Reading the Source like every single week or every single month. It was monthly. So I get the Source. But anyway, the Source gave Long Live the Kane, Big Daddy Kane's first album, a 5 mic rating, which is considered a hip hop classic. So we'll talk about that as we go through this. So he got that honor. And on MTV and the Source magazine, respectively, gave props to Big Daddy Kane as ranked number 7 and number 8 as the best lyricist all time through all of hip hop. So we'll talk a little bit more about his lyrical style, how he was different, how he differentiated himself from all the other MCs in his same era. And of course, the last thing that I want to speak about is Big Daddy Kane was part of the famous Juice Crew. Juice Crew, if you all didn't know, was mad famous in the late 80s. Marley Marl, DJ Magic, Biz Markie, Roxanne Shante, Kool G Rap, MC Shan, Master Ace, Craig G. I can go on and on and on about the Juice Crew. Juice Crew was dope, man. Like, I love their music, their lyricism, their connection that they had together as just a group of MCs, you know, coming together, joining forces. And during that time in hip hop, it was what was needed, I think, at that time. So that's a little bit of the background and accolades for Big Daddy Kane. And he was part of Cold Chillin' Records, which we'll talk about as well. And his dancers. So I went back, yo, and this for AJ and DJ I.E. I went back and, you know, watched some of the videos. And, you know, Big Daddy Kane wasn't the best dancer, but his dancers, Scoop and Scrap, them brothers could dance, yo. Like, you know,
yeah, it was crazy.
I ain't joking, but them brothers could dance. Big Daddy, the first one I saw, like dancing and stuff. Like, yo, like, you could be a rapper and you can dance. He was pretty smooth with it. You know what I mean? So, but his claim to fame, he had 2 albums in the 80s. So we're focusing on Big Daddy Kane in the 80s. Now, he bled over a little bit into the 90s where we shifted hip hop a lot. And I think Big Daddy Kane kind of lost the touch with the hip hop community in regards to his sound, in regards to his impact, got a little bit lost within the 90s. Is changing altogether, but that's okay. His mark on hip hop is still solidified, so there's no reason to even backtrack on that. But the 2 albums in the 80s, 88, 89 respectively, Long Live the King, Gold Cells, released in June of 88, and It's a Big Thing released in September of 89 the following year. And for those of you that probably know this, Big Daddy Kane did a lot of production himself on the second album. So it goes to him as being the producer as well as an MC. So that's all that out of the way. So let's get into it, gentlemen. Once again, thank you all for being on the show this week. Got mad love for both of you. The first question that I'm going to send over to our special guest on the show this week is to you, DJ I.E., and that is, how did Big Daddy Kane changed lyricism in the 80s? How did he do that?
So when Kane came through, in my opinion, he really stepped the bar up, you know, because if we just start back from your first show and we just start with LL, Run DMC, each one of those guys, you know, Rakim, everybody, when they dropped that album, they set a bar that was like, they changed the game, each of them. You know what I mean? Public Enemy, during that time, everything was just so revolutionary off each one. So when Kane came through, he really brought through the metaphors, the wordplay, and the slick talk. You know, it was done before, but not on a manner of the way that Kane was coming through and Kane was doing it. And the first time I heard Kane, it was on Rhyming with the Biz. I don't know if you know, I'm sure everybody, we old heads. So Rhyming with the Biz, and the wordplay and the lyrics that he was putting together, it was like the first time hearing Cannabis spit. You know what I mean? Like back then, it was like, whoa, like you know when a new MC comes through and he just drops a different level, and everybody was like, whoa, he's the new. Kane said, the name King reigns supreme over many people. It means King Asiatic. Nobody's equal. I hate to brag. I'm good. Mike Eastwood, game I'll be MVP, the most valuable poet on the MIC. And the rappers will be the principal. The King is invincible. That right there, that line, like changed the game. And you know, he was always with the wordplay and you know, killing it on every song. He was saying something slick and something, and he was a smooth caddy. He didn't dress regular like everybody else. He came through with the suits and his flow was smooth and whatnot. So yeah, you know, he definitely made his mark with the wordplay and the metaphors, and you know, I like to call it the slick talk.
Yeah. No. So, AJ, same question. Big Daddy Kane, he changed lyricism in those late 80s when he came out. Same question.
Yeah, so you know, I was a teenager then, and a couple of the biggest albums during that time were actually, you know, Bigger and Deffer and Licensed to Ill, you know, within a year apart or whatever. And then when, like Ivan said, when Big Daddy Kane came in, he came in with a different style. He came in with like a grown style, and he was still young too. And he came out the smooth, the bass tone voice, and one thing that is very particular what he did, and probably his production crew as well, the music fit him. So he didn't have just some wild beat going and he just did his smooth flow. Everything fit him. And it was an engineered package when he came out with his album, especially Ain't No Half Step. It was just so different, so smooth. I think another thing that he introduced is the style of, either he introduced it or he perfected the style of like flipping and rolling of the tongue and so on and so forth that so many rap artists today do, you know. Mm-hmm. And so, like Ivan said, when he came in at a different level and set a different bar, and that's what he was about. And I don't recall if he had any major beefs back then, but I know I've been reading, I guess there was some Rakim and Big Daddy Kane beefs or something like that. So it didn't seem like that's what he was about. He was about uplifting himself and putting him above everybody else and not really bringing other people down. That's what it appeared to be back then. One thing I just wanted to add was that I saw an interview, I think yesterday or today, on VLADTV.com or whatever, and the host asked him, with the exception of you, don't put you on the list, who are the top 3 lyricists? And he said, I can't do that. I have to be on that list, per se. And he said, why? He said, because I'm effing incredible. And he was. And you know, but his 3, and they said, well, if you're on the list, then who else is on that top 3 list? And he did mention, he mentioned KRS and Rakim. So from back then. So it was interesting how he would put himself up there, but not destroy anybody. And that's one of the big things that was something that he did back then as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I mentioned, what I like to point out about Kane was he was arrogant, but he was humble at the same time. It's kind of like a weird vibe with Kane. He was so super aggressive, but he was so humble at the same time. He was like, you know, dissing anybody, but he was when you heard him lyrically, I went back and listened to the symphony, like razor sharp, put a corn in your ass because you so like, yo, I was like, yo, like this dude is unmatched. Like his creativity, his flow, and go to your point, AJ, the quick tongue. He kind of started like the quick tongue, the fast pace, the B-I-G.
B-I-G-A-D-Y-double-K-A-N-E. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not like many.
Just dope as hell, man. Like, you know what I mean? Compared to what was going on at the time, you know what I mean? So I appreciate both of you guys' point of view on that. Which brings me to my next question. So, AJ, I'm going to pass this baton to you on this one. And so we had a poll out there. So shout out to Hip Hop Heads Unite. That's my Facebook group out there. So thank you all for your support from 2016 to now. And I put out a poll this week. So every Wednesday we put out a poll just to kind of, you know, generate some controversy or some talks about the feature artist for the week. This week's question on the poll for that group was, is Big Daddy Kane a top 5 or a top 10 lyricist of all time? Now, AJ, you were the only one that said Big Daddy Kane was in the top 5, not the top 10. So here is your chance to show the world, why are you holding so strong on that stance? How was he in the top 5 and not per se the top 10? Now, mind you, MTV and VH1 put him at 7 and 8 respectively. So he's in the top 10 compared to everyone. You said top 5. So here is your chance to prove your stance on that.
So yeah, definitely top 5 80s. Like we said earlier, he set a bar and set a different bar. And a lot of rappers today are emulating that if they didn't even realize it. So top 5 definitely. With top 10 all time, the reason I think he toes the line, the 9, 10, 11 area, because he didn't evolve in the 90s. And so he almost became, I don't want to say the word irrelevant, but he got overshadowed. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about the 90s, that was a hard time, a different era of hip hop. And I don't think as the 90s progressed, he was overshadowed. That's the best way to put it, because his lyricist technique didn't drop. But he just kind of fell off and did a little bit of movies and stuff as well. But I would say he's toeing around the top 10 area, you know, may do the 9 to 10 to 11, somewhere around there. Yeah, and I'll stick with that.
Okay. DJ I.E, same question. Has Big Daddy Kane top 5 or top 10? I think I saw your vote on the poll was top 10. I remember right. I don't know if you voted on the poll or not. I got to go back and look at the tape. But top 5.
So I said, I said top 5 for the 80s, easy. Top 10 of all time. Because when you say top 5 of the 80s, definitely one of the top 5 MCs of the 80s. Of all time, there's so many dope lyricists. There's so many great MCs that if somebody says, yo, name your top 5 MCs, this week I'm going to say something, 2 weeks later I might say something different, because there's so many dope MCs, and sometimes you hear something and you get revisited and be like, yo, ain't nobody mentioning Coochie Rap. Oh, Coochie Rap was a beast. You know what I mean? And he fathered so many styles for MCs to come down the list too. So, you know, when you say top 10, of all time, you have to be crazy exceptional. And like AJ said, the first 2 albums were crazy dope. Then he got into something where I don't know if he was compete with LL on the ladies' man tip, or he was just trying to, you know, do the thing for the ladies. But when the 90s came, it was hip-hop evolved as well, and he didn't evolve with the new artists that was coming through. He was still on his grown and sexy stuff, and people was like, yo, we want to see such and such and such and such, and he's still coming with the older approach. With the ladies dug it though, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it just wasn't top 10 of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't carry the same approach for album 1, album 2, album 3, album 4. For you to be top 10 of all time, you got to be pretty consistent, you know. And that's why I'm one of the cats, not to go off. I'm one of the cats that I don't put Biggie in the top 5 because he only dropped 2 albums, and there's a long list of cats that have albums and put in work. So, you know what I mean? I'm pretty tough when it comes down to doing the top 5 MCs and top 10 of all time. So definitely top 5 of the 80s, not of all time, and top 10. He's definitely in the top 10 of all time for me.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your perspective on that as well. So, I mean, not taking nothing away from Big Daddy Kane or his impact or what he meant to hip hop, but just to go to AJ's point, you know, once we got to the 90s, you know, New Jack Swing was kind of in a little bit. I think one of his joints on the second album was I Get the Job Done, which was produced by Teddy Riley. So, during, you know, New Jack Swing was in, he was, you know, experimenting a little bit, and then kind of fell off. That sound kind of fell off. It's like one of those fads, man. It's good for 2 years, and then hip hop shifts. You know what I mean? So either you jump on it or you don't. And I don't think Big Daddy Kane or his management team or whoever was around him was like, "Yo, man, like you need to reinvent yourself if you want to stay with the pace of hip hop." And I don't think he did a good job of that. But between 87, 88, 89, he's in the top 5 lyrically in the 80s. I think
they were trying to commercialize and campaign. The label was, and they was trying to make him have big records like LL had big records and stuff like that. Because of course, when you seen him offline and you heard him freestyle on the radio and everything, he was still killing it. But you know, the labels back then, they ran the show and they told you, well, we need a radio song, we need this and we need that. So you know what I mean? It probably was him being a slave to the label, like most artists would say, you know, what went on with them.
Yeah, it's a crazy game being I think most people think that, you know, just because you're an artist or a music artist that you got like all of the control of your music. And back then, you know, artists didn't understand those contracts and you're obligated to do this and you got to have this and what's good for the radio and we got to make money. It's all about money. You know what I mean? You know, if you're not making money for the label, you know, we're going to go on to whatever's hot and the fad. And I think to go to AJ's point, Kane kind of fell off. But lyrically, we're talking about the lyrics, razor sharp. The first 2 albums, razor sharp lyrics. If you all don't know anything about Big Daddy Thing or the first album, which was Long Live the Kane, go back, go re-listen to it. You're going to see it pop up on the screen. Mm-hmm. Do the homework. Go back and read those albums because it's razor sharp. Production is razor sharp. Marty Marr produced most of the first album. The second one, he kind of experimented a little bit with some other DJs. Mm-hmm. It was Mo B. He did a little bit with, I'm trying to think who. I'm not it was Q-Tip. I'm trying to think who else helped him produce on the second album. I can't think it off the top of my head. But he still was with.
Definitely wasn't Q-Tip.
But he had a major collab with like about a handful of rappers at the time, and Q-Tip was on one of them songs.
Yeah, I want to say he himself was producing a lot of the songs on the second album. So people forget about that Kane was the MC, he was a producer, you know, as well too. So it showed off his unique skill set and how he was adaptable behind the booth as well too. So all right, so gentlemen, I got one more question and then we're gonna start to go on the tail end here. Was submitted by one of our folks from the hip hop page, my brother Matt Dalby. Shout out to Matt, I love you, bro. Keep supporting hip hop, man. I love you, man. But his question was, so when I spoke to him yesterday, he's like, you know what, man? Like, I went back and listened to Big Daddy Kane, and I hear a lot of similarities to Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z. So, what do you all think? Is Jay-Z the phoenix that rose up above, you know, from the, you know, I mean, what Big Daddy Kane's his influence was. So Jay-Z kind of rose out of the ashes and he's like the new coming or the Big Daddy Kane 2.0. So DJ I.E, I'm gonna tell you, pass it to you first. So what are the similarities, Jay-Z and Big Daddy Kane? So do you hear a little bit of his influence, I would say, on Jay-Z?
Yeah, definitely. And for one, it's a Brooklyn thing. And there's no way, shape, or form that you could be a Brooklyn MC from that era and not learn, sharpen your sword by listening to Kane. Like everybody from that era, especially Brooklyn MCs, Kane was that dude, but he was the dude across the board for, you know what I mean, from the East Coast to the West. But Kane was really repping Brooklyn, and the Brooklyn MCs like Jay-Z and Biggie. Biggie got put on by Mr. C, who was Big Daddy Kane's DJ. So they were all within, you know what I mean, a small radius of each other. And and once again, how I spoke about Kane came through with the braggadocious, slick talk flow. That's that, stuff that, Jay-Z was on, that Brooklyn stuff, so
Yeah.
Definitely. There's, and I could go on with the similarities, but I would say 100%. Even if you got a chance to talk to Jay-Z, there is no denying. You know what I mean? The guy from your neighborhood that came out before you was, that you look up to and you listen to.
No doubt. AJ, same question. So, do you hear a lot of Kane and Jay-Z?
I would say the style of Big Daddy Kane, his tone was the same in every song. He didn't get raspy, didn't yell, didn't go low. He kept the same sound out of his voice. And if you listen, I would say if you listen to Jay-Z, for the most part, he's the same way. He doesn't get excited. He doesn't do, the low and the screaming and the raspy. And, he doesn't do that. He's just one. If you want to say monotone, it might be monotone, but it works. And early Jay-Z, when he very first came out, before his first album, he was on something. And I remember seeing the video. I think he was called Jazz at the time.
Yeah, he was doing Hawaiian Sophie, that whack.
Yeah, but he was flipping his tongue just like Kane.
Yeah.
Just flipping a lyric, flipping a lyric, and just like him. So
there's Jazzo, and then there's Jay-Z, and Jazzo was with Jay-Z. That was Jay-Z was under Jazzo, and that was that style, that flickety wickety wickety, you know what I mean, type of style. And Jay-Z was doing the same thing, like you say, Kane was doing. And then when he came out with original flavor, can I get open? You know it. Hey y'all, can I get open? You know it. And then Kane was, doing the same wickety wickety wickety. But I guess he evolved with styles or whatever. But
yeah, lots of similarities, lots of parallels. And here's something else for the fans if y'all don't know. Jay-Z was on the road with Kane. So this goes right back to DJ I.E's point. So when Kane was on the road, Jay-Z was, they considered Jay as his hype man. So in some eras, it was Jay-Z and was Positive K. Them two rappers were with Kane on the road as he was, going about, and Jay got to meet Ice-T, and when he was up and coming. So yeah, that goes back to that. You're gonna emulate whatever is around you. It's not about biting or anything. It's just paying homage, to who you look up to. And then Jay looked up to Big Daddy Kane, emulated his style, and I cannot wait, you guys. Show on, I think we might do 2 shows on Jay, because Jay has a huge influence on hip hop. I can't wait to get to the 90s when we get to Jay-Z later on down the road. But Jay's flow, originated, I think, from when you hear Kane, you like, damn man, like that kind of sounds like Jay-Z a little bit. You know what I mean? Like in those first couple of albums when Kane was on fire, but the fire kind of diffused out in the 90s. But however, his influence is still relevant. That's why we're talking about Big Daddy Kane in 2020, because of his influence to hip hop and his contributions to hip hop. And I'm a big fan myself. But gentlemen, we're gonna wrap things up here, man. I appreciate you guys giving me your time, your thought process, and your experience with hip hop. But we're gonna start to wind things down a little bit. So AJ, you are a second guest on my show. I'm gonna pass the baton to you, sir. Who are you shouting out this week, man?
Well, number one is always you, Rob, for this movement. All right, definitely. And I definitely shout out for I.E for coming on. I kind of influenced him to get on here. It wasn't that hard to influence him. I threw a good pitch, and I knew not only that he probably have some good connects, good network, but I know he would love this. He would love this show. So shout out to both of yous. And shout out to my son down in Houston. I hope he's safe. J-Dub, I hope he's safe out there.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Our special guest, DJ I.E. Who you shouting out this week, man?
I just want to shout out everybody that's out there. I'm doing these mixes on Mixcloud, and it's under DJ I.E. And everybody that's out there supporting them, listening them, playing them, and you know, I got a nice following around the world. I could check and see who's playing them in Japan. France is really dope. So everybody that's out there supporting, my IG is DJ underscore I.E underscore, and you know, everybody that support me on that as well. So that's about it.
All right, man. And I only have 3 shout outs. So here's the crazy thing, right? So I was talking to DJ I.E and AJ before we started, and like, it's incredible where this thing is going. I don't know where it's going to end up at. I might be on the BET Awards one day. I don't even know, you know what I mean? Those happen out of this, but I want to give 3 shout outs really quick to 3 ladies. And the first one is Erica Rodriguez. And Erica, if you are listening and are seeing this week, I want to thank you, because when I was first starting out on Facebook, I was using hip hop quotes of the week. That's how this whole thing kind of got started. I'm such a huge fan of hip hop, and I'm always about lyrics, right? So I used to put on Facebook, you know, the hip hop quote of the week, and she was like, "Yo, you should get some people together." So she was like one of the first ones to like try to get somewhat organized. So Erica, if you're watching, big shout out to you, and I'm gonna tag you in this post when you see this later on this week. Second shout out is my aunt Charmaine in Atlanta, Georgia. Her birthday was this past week. She's a big fan of the show. She said she's been watching, and I want to say, Aunt Maine, thank you for your support. Thank you to everybody on that side of the family showing mad love, showing mad support, and I appreciate you. So happy belated birthday, and I love you. And also shout out to my cousin Tiffany as well, and the passing of Uncle Keith as well. So Uncle Keith, you know, rest in peace to your soul. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Miss Becky Norwood. So Miss Becky Norwood, if you guys didn't know, I'm not a very spiritual person, but when I need spiritual guidance, Miss Becky Norwood, or Miss Norwood, my second mom, as I call her, is a person that I pick up the phone and call. And I called her yesterday, and I was thinking about her, and I was thinking about everything that's going on around the world and everything like that. And she gave me some spiritual guidance, and I want to thank you to the bottom of my heart, Ms. Becky, for everything that you've done for me as a person, as a man, and watching me progress through this process. And I want to end things off, you guys, with just a special note to George Floyd and his family, the tragedy that happened on May 25th of this week. I mean, we got looting, we got rioting going on. People are angry, people are mad. And I want to use this outlet as an outlet of hope. Hip hop has always brought people together with the music and everything. So I want to tell you all that I'm with you. I'm hurting with you, but we got to do better. And we have to come together as a whole group. And when I was watching people protest last night, you know what I mean? Like, there was people of all colors, all races, you know, everybody just coming together. Everybody is mad right now. You know what I mean? And George Floyd, the way what happened to him is a tragedy and will be an American tragedy, but we got to do better, man. And on top of that, what I want to say to you, gentlemen, is thanks again. Thank you for being on the show this week. But I want to end this week on the note of a moment of silence for him, his family, his legacy. And we'll see you guys next week. All right, man. 100.